All right, I just pressure washed and cleaned this roof, and already there's leaves and this little seed debris stuff. So I will need when I come back to do the field, you can see it blowing around, a blower to blow it off. There are storms out there, and for the moment I am going to concentrate on cutting in the sides with the brush, and I use this bar to open the can like so, and here's the fabric and shears, a 1/2 inch drill to mix this that needs to be mixed. I've done it by hand, but then it takes a while. And we'll use the fabric for places like this and this, and any suspected areas. Look at this. This was closely power washed thoroughly. And the fabric on this and this. That's my plan, is to cut around the edge with this 4-inch chip brush. And when I was power washing, I was noticing that the air could kind of blow up underneath this, but now with the sun on it, I didn't think this water and ice was going to adhere to this torch down. This has this, see, now that'll have to be taped. But as time goes on, it actually is. Sometimes, well, when these roofs are newer, there is a residue that comes out, probably the plastic that is modified with the APP plastic, and not everything sticks to this. Roof cement does not stick to it. Vulcum does not stick to it. Silicone coating does stick. See how it's kind of like loose? You get your hands under it, but with some pressure, see, now it doesn't come up. So as I cut in, I will make sure that I'm pressing on it, and then I will paint the GACORoof up on to this, so it becomes one with this water and ice membrane up to here. I don't want to seal this. That would be a mistake. You can see how there's not much pigment on the top, and as we go, you can see already how different it is. Wow, look at this. Stir thing is bent. Now, this is not the sanitized version that a company would put out. This is real time, real world, on the job, old house, with all the problems and imperfections of a human being, especially who I've done tens of thousands of square feet of this, but not millions like some people have. Set this on the roof for the moment, and then come back and use the brush to smooth it around. See, I'm using these gloves. Sooner or later, I won't be able to resist sticking my hand in it. These plastic buckets, this material will peel out of it after it sets, and we don't want bumps. This will leave bumps in the roof if you don't smooth it out. So we'll smooth it out. Let's start here. So any suspect seams like this, get the fabric. Where's the fabric? Where's the scissors? Oh, and one of the most important things are some really good knee pads. This keeps the suffering element down. All right, so let's do a little bit. I'm making sure that this stuff is stuck where I put it while I'm cutting this in. Just make sure this is pressed down everywhere. So in the end, the thickness of this roof needs to be 22 mils. And there's a little gauge that GACO makes available. Now this can have a bit of a learning curve and can be frustrating because it doesn't want to lay properly. So that's a good thing I'm using a short piece here. So I'll put it kind of up on that and drag it. Look at this being pretty well behaved. Drag it down right to that. I do not want to seal the shingles to this roof. I want water to come out from under it if for some reason water gets under it. And if you block it off and water gets under it, for sure it'll be a leak. So on the next coat, you won't be able to see that this fabric is even there. See, I pressed this piece down, this water and ice membrane, and all I need to do is bring it out far enough to where, and I get a roller that I don't get roller, you know, up onto the shingles. Now the factory has a certification program and we are certified. See that? That's got to get the fabric. The materials themselves are warranted for 50 years. There's a material warranty of 50 years. Now all that means is if there's some kind of failure with the material, they'll give you more material. So with this warranty that you send in, then they send something back that you can give to the customer, fabric. And this product was made by GACO Western, I think was the name. And it's now made by Firestone. If you expect to have any kind of warranty, you have to follow the instructions. You have to put it on 22 mils thick. And yeah, here it is, Firestone Building Products. And they even have a helpline. But I don't know what being a certified installer of this product is. But now they also have a lot of other commercial products where there's an epoxy version, there's a 100% solids version, there's a special primer. There's ways to put this on so you're only on the roof once. And doing this product, I mean, it's 50 years, and I'm sure that this is gonna last 50 years, and that's kind of good enough for my purposes. And I especially like that this has a petroleum distillate in it. In other words, it's like got paint thinner or mineral spirits in it. And what that does is it actually eats, if you ever coat this on a piece of 30-pound felt, you can see that it dissolves into anything that petroleum distillate, you know, like paint thinner, will dissolve into. So it, in a sense, it becomes one with the roof, because the solvent in this actually dissolves into it. Now the version that they have that has a primer or an epoxy primer, epoxy is, I think, a big commercial kind of product, where they have these sprayers that cost $10,000. They get on a roof and do it all at once. And this primer, you know, is quite the thing. And so, since it's 100% solids, this primer that I'm talking about, there's no solvents in it. It's all one chemical that will, when it reacts with itself, and of course it's very sticky, very adhesive, it bonds to the substance that you're putting it on. But this has a little different method in that it's actually dissolving into these asphalt type roofs. Now you can put this on an EPDM roof and it's not going to dissolve into an EPDM roof, but any of these asphalt based product roofs, it will dissolve into. Now I use this fabric that is made by them GACO or Firestone, that's made for this application. And there are others, and the warranty, I would imagine, would have something to say if you use somebody else's fabric. So this fabric has holes in it. It's not all that much more than anything else, and it's designed and researched to work with this system, and so I use it. Now see, you can even, I've done this before, you can go over holes and bubbles. I'm gonna have to figure out how to get up under this. You don't want to go over the top of this sort of stuff. Actually, this is how to do it. And just lift it up and shove this up under here. You never want to seal off the bottom. Now I can put this on layer after layer after layer, but we don't want to seal the bottom of this little area. I better leave it alone because I might want to get back up underneath there with some felt or something. See how there's all this kind of dirt particles gets into it, but you would be surprised when it's done that it just, you would think it would look a mess, but it somehow seems to not be so bad. And how I know that is because sometimes you just don't have a choice to do certain things, and then you think, oh, that's never gonna work, and it actually does. See, now look, there's actually a little dust in there. Yuck. I'm gonna, now I'm not sure what I'll do with the counter flashing here. I have a proposal to the customer to tuck point the back of this thing. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to figure out something about the counter flashing. And it's probably gonna generate a lot of dirt that's gonna come down just like that and get in there. So if it's dry though, it won't be too much of a problem. There's a big wasp nest up under here. Shot a bunch of foam in there, and it looks like it could use some more. I'll come back and deal with that. But watch this corner. I keep an eye on this corner, and when we get done, you'll see what I mean about how it just sort of all manages to work itself out. Now, see, yeah, I need a little piece here. Now, where they've run this, if they've run this roof up here, and then this comes down, there's a huge overlap. I don't worry too much about this, because it's gonna be waterproof. So I think I'll need to put fabric there, because it's just not gonna look right if that's flappy. I come up here and see that, you know, there's like a shadow line. You want it to be monolithic. So we'll fabric that like this. I have the tape on here, bedded in a coating. And can you imagine doing this in the fall with all of a sudden a wind blew a whole bunch of leaves onto the roof? And this is one of the more time-consuming parts, is cutting this in. And I want to bring your attention to see how this is globbed up with a bunch of roof cement. Well, keep an eye on what that's gonna look like. This is also the same over here. Now, I came to this part, right, and we're gonna see how globbed up that is and what that's gonna look like at the end. I noticed, to see how flexible that is? This is SBS modified, and I actually think this piece is here too. And this is TPP. This is torch down, TPP modified. And look, there's a negative seam. The seam should be like this. Now this is torch down when it flows out like that. And it should flow out like 5/8 of an inch or so. This didn't get good flow out, and so that seam's failing. But this is a negative seam. So the seam is put over this, so when it fails, water goes in. It's considered to be a no-no in roofing. But with this roof, it's not going to matter. This is going to make it irrelevant. But see how this sandy kind of stuff here, and how at least this one piece, how really flexible it is. APP modified isn't this flexible. But it's not going to matter for our purposes. Now there is a line of storms out here headed this way, and I wanted to get as much of this cutting in as I can. All this black gunk is now going to be buried for 50 years. When I wipe this on, when I paint this on, now this is just the first of 2 coats. When I paint this on, I like to go back, because there will be places where that's not too bad, where it likes to droop and run down, And I just think that looks unprofessional to have your roof running down the wall. Whoops. See, I use these gloves because sooner or later I can't resist sticking my hands in it. And where there is this big gap underneath here, I put the fabric, the tape. Well, actually, it's kind of confusing. This is GACO fabric. There is a product that's in a, I don't know, couple gallon or 1 gallon bucket called GACO fabric, but it's not a fabric at all. It has fabric in it, like, you know, pieces of fibers, and so when you put it down, it acts like a fabric, but it is, you know, a liquid that comes in a bucket. It's called GACO tape, and this is GACO fabric. Anyway, it's confusing, so make sure if you use this stuff you're familiar with the terminology, or you're gonna order this and end up with some 1 gallon buckets of GACO. There's also a GACO flex. So there's GACO fabric, GACO tape. GACO tape is in the 1 gallon container. That's GACO fabric. So make sure you're clear when you order it, if you do, about what you're wanting. And the GACO tape that's in the 1 gallon bucket is pretty expensive way to do some of this stuff when this, I don't know, 250, 500 foot roll of fabric and this comparatively inexpensive liquid can bridge quite nicely over things. So you just have to consider, you know, what you're doing. Here's the storm out there. There's where the storm is not. And the drill is in the bag. The lid is attached